This is I Love Black People Radio on H.U.R Voices, Sirius XM Channel 141. I Love Black People is more than a radio show. I Love Black People is a call from our ancestors to protect us from racial profiling all across the world. Go to ILoveBlackPeople.com and become a member today. Membership empowers you to live fearlessly and protect Black people globally from racism and xenophobia. Join us today and become a member of our global network with an online global green book with Black-owned and Black-friendly businesses to protect you and your community. Membership is free, and with you, we will become 10 million strong worldwide. I am because we are.
And welcome to another episode of I Love Black People. We've been blessed today to have a wonderful sister who's doing so much to make sure we get the respect and the dignity that we deserve globally. We have our amazing, dynamic, wonderful sister, Dr. Ijeoma Nnodim Opara. Thank you, sister. I know my tongue is colonized, but thank you. Could you please introduce yourself to our wonderful listeners and correct my colonized tongue if it said anything wrong, please?
Oh, Brother Skinner, listen, no one can ever be mad at you. You are so precious. And look, all our tongues are colonized. We're speaking English right now. So
go ahead. You're right. Break it down, sister. Go ahead.
So my name is Dr. Ijeoma Nnodim Opara. I usually say, in terms of introducing myself, that I am Nigerian by origin, African by power, Black by politics, and American by location. My mission in life is to dismantle white supremacy by eliminating anti-Black racism from medicine, healthcare, and public health. I'm a physician, scholar, activist, and I'm also proud owner of the company OparaSpeaks. And through OparaSpeaks, I amplify the capacity of academic and healthcare institutional leaders who want to transform their programs to become more equitable and justice-centered, so that they can better achieve their mission and increase their bottom line. And I do this through coaching, consulting, and speaking. And so we activate the Opara solution. All right. And what is the Opara solution? The Opara solution, look, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna break it down. Okay. And so the Opara solution essentially is through packaging of coaching, consulting, speaking, and we also have an institute where we contain an anti-racist lab, anti-racist hub, and anti-racist courses. All right, and it's all in service of Black liberation. We follow Black liberation theology and philosophy and guidelines and principles, because ultimately it's not just what we are fighting against, but what we are building. And so honestly, it's the only really institute of its kind. It's the only really solution of its kind to this problem of white supremacy, which we're seeking to end through eliminating anti-Blackness that is embedded and coded and codified in medicine, public health, and healthcare. So if you are a leader, if you are an individual, if you are a person, if you're a life form, honey, who wants to go through the journey of what it means to become an anti-racist liberation powerhouse that leads transformative change in your institution, you want the Opara solution.
Okay, Dr. Opara, now you said a lot of things that, again, I'm not going to say it sounds, like it's right on time, but it's been about time. It's probably, we've been waiting on this for a long time. It's past time. There we go. It's past time. Tell us, you're a physician. I mean, you could have just probably stayed in just a regular practice, made a good living. What brought you to this space where you've identified white supremacy, and not just to talk about it, but to talk about solutions and to actually help people with solutions? What took you on this journey from a physician to taking your actual skills and practical professionalism to this space? Give us your story. I want them to know you, Dr. Opara. How would you say this journey came about?
That's right. Listen here. I know you said I could have been just a physician, and listen, I couldn't. There was no choice in the matter. I was born to freedom fighters. Both my parents survived the Biafra Nigerian Civil War in the 60s. And I learned what it meant to stand up for what is right from a very early age. I'm also an Ada. An Ada is a title that is given to the firstborn of a firstborn girl of an Igbo household. It's a title of responsibility and honor. And part of the role of the Ada is to maintain peace in the household.
How do you spell that?
Ada, Ada.
Okay, what's so crazy? So my wife, her surname, is Dartan, Adar, and she's the firstborn. But again, I just thought that was like, this is getting. And when we did her genealogy, my wife's from the Dominican Republic, but we did her genealogy, and most of it was coming out of Nigeria. And I need to, I know these, because whoever gave her a name wasn't thinking about that, but that was very interesting. Okay, so humbly says firstborn. I love it. I apologize for taking this away.
No, please don't apologize. But hey, I don't know that they didn't know what they were doing though. Like, do we know that they didn't know what they were doing? They took our language, but many of us resisted by keeping it or hiding it or modifying it so that they won't recognize it, but it was still ours. So we don't know. Many of us are carrying the creativity and the genius of our ancestors who resisted white supremacist violence by still maintaining and insisting on parts of our identity. And maybe it needed to shift and be modified a little bit to survive the new environment, but survive it did. So we don't know that they didn't know what they were doing. Who knows? So I love that. I really love that. And so, yes, I often say, like I said, I'm an Ada because I'm the first girl of my Igbo family. And the title given to the first boy of an Igbo family is Opara. And that is my last name by marriage, right? So I like to tell people, y'all, I'm the firstborn girl and the firstborn son, honey. You don't want to catch these hands. All right.
Go ahead.
You don't want to get this some milk. So but yeah, the title of Ada is an honorable title. The Adas in an Igbo community, they occupy an honored space. They play a significant role, a leadership role in the community. So from a very early age, I was really brought up with this idea of responsibility and leadership and justice, or to live your life in a way where you are taking care of others and that you are ensuring that even the quote unquote least of these, the most vulnerable person, is protected because they're still precious and perform a role in the community. All right, so fast forward, we move and migrate to this country. My father is a physician, scholar, physician scientist as well. My mother is also a scholar in academia in child education. She came here and went back to school and got her master's in social work. So I was born to good stock, okay? And I have 3 siblings as well. So we all moved here. And as we came here, I acquired the identity of Blackness, right? Because you're back home in Nigeria, you are Igbo, you are a woman or a girl, you're in a certain class structure, etc. Those are the identity markers there. You don't know that you're black, green, yellow, blue. You come to America and then you are black. Okay. And so I learned what it meant to be Black, and my eyes were open when I went to school and I took my first African-American literature class, and I read the book, the autobiography of Olaoda Equino, and then come to find out that this was the first enslaved African that learned to write and wrote his story. Okay. So if any, all Black people all over the diaspora need to ensure that they read that book. Okay. Come to find out that Olaoda Equino was an Igbo man. And so that really tied so many things together. My eyes started opening and learning about history, how we got to be where we are today. The understanding that Africa and her children on the continent, that I had brothers and sisters that were scattered all over the world. It's like if you had always grown up in your family, then like your dad dies or something, you go to the funeral and you see all these other kids that look like you, come to find out he had his he had his own family with other kids all over the place, kind of thing, right? But except that, in a different way, this is a it's like I think even in that case, it's like a happy, sad, it's a bittersweet experience, right? Because this is your family, this is blood, but goddamn, you didn't know each other this whole time, and there was all this shadiness, right? That hid each other from you. That's how the diaspora felt to me when I discovered her. When I discovered that, oh my God, I have family all over the world, in Brazil, in Central and South America, in the North Americas, in Australia, in all over the world, because of the transatlantic slave trade and other forces of colonialism and white supremacism. So as I began to learn more, I shifted my major. I was pre-med because I knew I wanted to be a doctor, like my father, even though I experimented in the social sciences and humanities because I have a passion for social sciences, humanities, and the arts. I actually do identify also as an artist, performing art, performance arts. I write, I perform poetry, I perform theater, etc. And so as I was trying to discover myself, in college, I realizing my heart kept going to needing to find out more about my roots and the roots of the people that looked like me all over the world. So I majored in African studies, and through African studies learned African history and African literature, philosophy, anthropology, all those, the social sciences and humanities and the arts as well, music, dance, and every aspect of it really gave me a pan-Africanist ideology, really like started to develop that in me, and understanding that, listen, we are still in bondage and we need to be free. We need to be free. I started learning about Patrice Lumumba, Kwame Nkrumah, the freedom fighters, of course, Nelson, from the past, from the present, from the future, and and for the past, from the present, from the future, and the future, I would say, and started learning about liberation dreaming, freedom dreaming, abolition movements. I said, this is me. My spirit, my soul just relaxed, knowing that this is me. So it was a decision. I had to sort of also decolonize my mindset around how you make life choices, right? Where you are born into the you are ascribed because you're taught. I would say that you are taught like this sort of colonial idea that things have to be binary, either or. So I had to decolonize and sort of get liberated from that. That no, I can be all things, not all things, but I can be multiple things at the same time. So being a physician did not preclude me from also being an activist. I could be a physician and an activist. That's why I introduced myself. I'm a physician, scholar, activist. I can also be a business owner, an entrepreneur. I can be
an artist,
many
all
things.
of it.
An artist, you can, because we are beautifully and magnificently and phenomenally made by our creator. Right? Yeah. I'm a Black woman, I'm an African woman. We can be 65 things at once and be stellar at all of them because we can. All right. And it ebbs and flows. And then on some days you're more of an artist than a scientist. And on other days you're more of a scientist than an artist. And other days you're about the same, and on and on. But you know what? All in all, you are all these things, and it's beautiful. You embrace, and I embrace all of them. And so doing this work, and then in medicine, there is no other field. Let me just say there are few other fields than in medicine and in healthcare and in public health that you really see the ravages of white supremacy and anti-Blackness.
So when did you get that space? Like, was it after university? Like, when did you come into the analysis? Okay, this is the profession I'm in, and the overwhelming impact is not, just diet or not just
yes,
the part that's saying there's just this heavy thing on us of white supremacy. Where did that? Because I think a lot of listeners, being a professional person, you could be an accountant, you could be. We can use all our professions to help, protect and eliminate white supremacy's impact on our people. But trying to walk someone through their own journey and show the parallel of yours. Where did it? Again, and we also got our family and our parents. I'm an engineer. My dad wanted me to be an engineer. And when I dropped out of engineering and started my own business, he was like, "Wait a minute!" But my point
is, what you doing?
Yeah, what you doing? I ended up opening a bunch of dry cleaners. I wanted to work for myself. I got tired of working on plantation. My dad was like, "You didn't have to go to college to have a dry cleaner." But anyway, where did you get that calling from the profession? Like, where was that moment like that would help other folks come to that?
So what I always tell folks is that it is so important to be purpose driven. So from an early age, one of the things I was blessed with is that I was exposed through, I think, faith tradition, which was Christian, I would say Afro-Christian faith traditions, and just a certain culture that really focused on the fact that we are all here with a purpose. And you need to be about the journey of identifying that and then doing whatever it takes to ensure that you are living inside of it. That, in other words, you are purpose driven, right? So from a very early age, I was exposed to the idea of mission statements, writing your mission statement. As a child, I wrote and wrote and wrote, and I kept writing it over and over and over again till now. And it's gotten more refined, and that's why I say I introduced myself with my mission. I say my mission in life is to dismantle white supremacy. And I call it supremacism because I think I learned from Hubert Skinner and a few other people who are like, hey, I don't call it white supremacy because these folks think they're supreme. They ain't. And so there's some alternative terms that have come up, white violence, which is true, that lives inside that system. We call it white supremacy because that's what they called it and call it. And they came up with the term. We didn't. We're just reinforced. I mean, it's literally like codified in documents, in government documents and official historical artifacts. So it's not like we made it up. But for the people that don't want to reinforce that delusion, the people that say white supremacy delusion, and that's all correct. I think that my focus on even naming it, even what as it's named, is to emphasize that it's the system that ultimately is a system written in structures, but I digress. But the point is that I make sure that I start with my mission. My mission in life is to dismantle this God-forsaken system by doing one thing: identifying anti-Blackness in my field of medicine, healthcare, and public health, and eliminating the hell out of it, removing it. And it becomes really critical when
I'm talking about your first day on the job. Now give me your first day on the job.
My first day it's very difficult to state that, brother. And the reason why is because it has been a journey and a process all through my life of always being in touch with myself and my higher power to say, Creator, God, why did you make me? And what did you make me for? And so I told you about that first book I read, Olaudah Equina, that opened my eyes to the reality, the stories of a story of Blackness in this world, on this earth. It was like my first, look at global anti-Blackness, right? Because this was an Igbo man that was enslaved and brought to the Americas. And I mean, his story is the true story that brings the diaspora together. And tells the story of how the diaspora was formed and was born and is linked and connected, and how our liberation is wrapped up in each other, ipso facto. And so that was my first opening, and so my heart was captivated. Fire started burning in my chest. That led to me taking my next African American studies class, and my next African American studies class that led to me changing my major, so that my major became African studies, and I studied then the diaspora because I studied Caribbean folks. And so you're reading these books, you're reading Black scholars from all over the world articulating our story and narrative. And brother, you and I were talking earlier as you shared about your experiences in Poland, and you were talking about and describing the beautiful experiences you had by sharing space and community, breaking bread with brothers and sisters, or brothers in this case, in Europe. And how you said, when they tell our stories, they don't talk about this. Yes, right. And so when you read the stories of when we tell our stories, honey, your soul is captivated. I guess that's why was it W.B. Du Bois that said the souls of Black folk.
Go ahead.
Right, the soul. And so my soul was captivated by reading about, again, W.B. Du Bois and Frederick Douglass and Zora Neale Hurston and Toni Morrison and James Baldwin and Amilcar Cabral and Buchi Emecheta and Chinua Achebe and Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and the list goes on. The scholars, the writers, the artists, the poets that tell our story. that tell our story, and many times even in our languages, or they mix it with the colonial tongue to help the colonial tongue get better and stronger, frankly speaking. And so it opened me up, body, soul, spirit, mind. And I knew, and I think it was around, it had to be in college, and so it was prior to graduation. And I remember right before graduation, I went to Ghana for 3 months on a research project, which you don't ask me about the research. I have no idea, because I got there and I had a whole different agenda. I was there really to build community and reconnect, because it had been a long time since I was back home at that time. And my identity was really shaped into one that is Pan-African based on that experience going back as like a young adult. And I just knew. I saw the trends, because now I'd been in America for a long time. Then went back. I saw how, again, the reach of white supremacism was just truly global. And I was like, yup, we need to be set free here.
Yeah, I didn't even think that this would be a part of the conversation in this way. Sometimes we talk to young people, especially being on a Howard University radio station, how when they're picking their majors, be a computer scientist, be an engineer, be a doctor, be a lawyer. And they sometimes poo-poo some of these majors like African studies and whatnot. How would you, if there were any students or any folks, going back to try to educate themselves in certain ways, what would you say to young people or people who have young kids, university age students? What would you say to them about these majors and their impact on the rest of your life?
I think that's a fantastic question. And the reason why is this. When I first started started college, I said that I was going to major in biology, because I was pre-medicine. So of course I was going to do a science course. Hated it. It was boring to me. Not that I hated it. Let me go back. I didn't hate it, but it was boring. Okay. It was boring. It wasn't really meaningful. It didn't touch my soul. It stimulated the hell out of my intellect, and it was fascinating. I could do it. Clearly, I'm doing it right now. But it did not touch my spirit. And I think it was important. It is important to pay attention to what not only tickles your fancies intellectually, but that it sets your soul ablaze. And so, but I went along, because sometimes you don't know what you don't know. But like I said, I happened to. And another time I'll tell the story of how I tripped and fell into that first African American literature class. Essentially, what happened was that
what had happened
was your girl started college and was still not a permanent U.S. permanent resident, so was paying international fees that her daddy did not have the money for. And so I think after the first year, they're like, girl, you owe us money and you cannot register until you pay us. And so I did what I had learned to do all my life, which is to reach out to the Black people around me. There was one vice president of the university, Dr. Royster Harper, honey. And I went to that. See, one thing my mama taught me, never be ashamed or shy to ask for help. I will ask for help from anybody. I asked for help from a fetus. I will ask for help from the oldest person alive. I will ask for help from a president, and I will ask for help from housekeeping. I will ask for help from a puppy, and I will ask help from a grasshopper. Honey, I will ask for help if I need it. And so I hunted this woman down, made an appointment, went to her office, and I probably laid out on the floor. I need to finish school. I need to graduate. I went to University of Michigan, by the way, Ann Arbor. I need to finish school and graduate. They kicking me out because I'm poor. And my father worked in the university too. And so she said, okay, girl, you're going to finish your college. Nobody's going to kick you out. Just chill. But I did have to take a break while she worked with my father and the university to deal with some things. And through that Black woman, listen, my whole life is because Black people, especially Black women, have been there for me. My success in life. Don't believe, listen, especially Black women, but Black men and Black women, Black people I'm black non-binary people, right? Just black folk, black disabled people, black people have been there for me.
I love it. I love it. Go ahead.
And the truth of the matter is that is the truth of the matter. So this one thing I'll tell you, I'll answer your question, but hold on now. I will tell your listeners this: please reject. If anybody ever tells you black people are like crab in a basket or black people don't help each other, those are white supremacy lies. They reject it. It's a lie.
Go ahead.
Black people help each other. Black
Teach.
people uplift each other. I am where I am right now. I can trace the through line of my life.
No, you're right. Go
to
ahead.
black people, especially black women that have been there for me and have
Here.
helped me and opened the doors for me.
All right.
Other people have done that too, sure. I'm just saying, without those black people, and they have ranged from random black folks in the DMV, random black folks in the Secretary of State, random black folks on the street of Detroit that see me with that white coat and say, "Go on, girl, we're rooting for you." Now this
go ahead,
brother is,
rooting for you.
Rooting for you. This brother is homeless, but he be like, you eating? Right? We need you. But we will be here on ILoveBlackPeople.com regularly, where we have our little corner, our little moments where we address anti-blackness in medicine, healthcare, and public health. You already know, we got these disparities going. We got black people that are dying in the healthcare space needlessly and preventably. How do we identify, call it out, and interrupt it? That's what we're going to be talking about.
Amen. Thank you, sister. Appreciate that. Can't wait. And as I always sign off, I am because we are, and I definitely am because of Dr. Opara. Thank you, sister.
Me too, brother. Love you.
This is I Love Black People Radio on H.U.R Voices, Sirius XM Channel 141. I Love Black People is more than a radio show. I Love Black People is a call from our ancestors to protect us from racial profiling all across the world. Go to ILoveBlackPeople.com and become a member today. Membership empowers you to live fearlessly and protect black people globally from racism and xenophobia. Join us today and become a member of our global network with an online global green book with black-owned and black-friendly businesses to protect you and your community. Membership is free, and with you, we will become 10 million strong worldwide. I am because we are. Special thanks to Banneker Communities.